Hello, welcome back to You Heard It From a CFP. My name is Matthew Coyle. I am a certified financial planner with Advanced Capital Group in Minneapolis. Today is May 24th, 2021, and we are talking about a question I got over the weekend from a family member about mortgages. Do you pay them off early? Do you pay them as scheduled? It's a good question. Let's dive in. Okay, we're talking about mortgages today, and I received a very simple question. Should I pay extra against my mortgage, or should I invest the difference? It's a common question. I get it all the time. It is situation specific, so you need to be running the numbers specific to your situation. I tend to favor not paying a mortgage off in a low interest rate environment, but let's run some numbers and we can talk about why. So the situation was a $400,000 mortgage, 4% note. The mortgage broker that sold this individual the loan made a statement that if you want to shave 10 years off the loan, you can make $500 extra per month against the mortgage, and effectively that would shave 10 years off the loan and save you about $100,000. So first we have to do some math to make sure this broker is correct, and I've done the math here, and of course it does reasonably check out. 9 years, 9 months, $103,000, almost $104,000 saved. It's, roughly about 10 years. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. So yes, this person was correct in asserting that you can shave 10 years off a mortgage by applying the extra $500 to the month, to the mortgage. But should you? Is that worth it? On a monthly basis, should you be investing the money, or should you be retiring debt with it? Let's dive into this real quick and see if we can, give this person a reasonable answer. So, what I've done is I've taken that $500 per month, and I've run it also, assuming you had taken that over the last 117 months, and invested that in the Vanguard Balanced Index, which trades under the ticker VBINX. It's a very common fund. You see it in a lot of 401k plans, qualified plans. A lot of people own it. It's a very widely owned index. Vanguard offers it. About a 60-40 equity bond split. And by doing so, you'll find that the end balance, had you done that, return about 9.8, 9.9%, depending on whether you invest the beginning month, end of the month, whatever. 105,000, almost 106,000 in total balance, had you done that the previous 10 years. So it's a wash, right? Is it a wash, and are there other considerations you may want to bring into play here? And sometimes we can't just make this decision based on mathematics alone. We have to look at everything. And let's also talk about that in a second. Okay, so what else comes into play when deciding whether or not to pay off a mortgage? The example I just showed you was a very simple example where it pretty much was a wash. You could have invested the $500 extra, you could have used it to pay off your mortgage. Either way, it was pretty much a wash. That was not an aggressive example. The Vanguard Balanced Index is a very conservative, well, not conservative, it's a less aggressive fund, let's say, 60-40 equity bond split. It's widely held. You see it in a lot of qualified plans. It's appropriate for most anybody. So that's a fairly simple example. But I also try to get people in our firm, our clients and such, to think strategically when it comes to paying off mortgage balances. For example, if I were to buy a $500,000 house, let's say, and to avoid PMI, I put the necessary amount down. I take a $400,000 note, which is 80% loan to value. I then pay that note down from, let's say, $400,000 to $200,000, and the house goes up in value to, say, $600,000 or $700,000. That's a very realistic scenario in many places around the country, and that equity, if something happens to you, becomes trapped. Meaning if something were to happen to me, I were to become sick, if I were to become disabled, if I were to lose my job and can't get rehired, if I can't make my mortgage payments and I've got no side fund that I can access without penalty or excessive taxation, then I've got a real problem because I can't get to my equity. Very few banks will ever lend you money or refinance if you don't have a job or income to cover it. And if something happens to me and I can't make the payment, every extra payment I give the bank is a disincentive for them to work with me if something goes wrong, because they're getting their mortgage money back on an accelerated schedule. In that example I just gave, $500,000, let's say again, $400,000 note, I pay it down to $200,000, house goes up in value to, let's say, $700,000. I've now got a $500,000 of equity there that's trapped, and I can't get to it. That $200,000 of extra payments I gave the bank actually equates to about 70% of the interest they would have made if I just saw the loan out to a 30-year term. So they have very little incentive to work with me. They can just basically throw me out of the house get 70% of what their interest they would have made back. They flip it, they get the principal in the house back, and they've got most of their money and most of their profits. So there's very little incentive for them to work with me if something happens. So I try to encourage my clients to think strategically whether or not they're deciding when it comes to paying down mortgage balances. It's very important to think that way. Keep yourself liquid, have an accessible pool of capital or savings you could go to without penalty or tax that you could draw from if something went wrong. And then just pay your note off as scheduled. The bank has made the risk, made the commitment to you and took the risk. Let them take it. You've made the commitment on the risk. They're willing to let you take that. So it's a contract, and honor the contract, and you should be fine. So when it comes to paying off mortgages, again, run the numbers, but if the numbers are a bit of a wash, start to bring in some of these other considerations, and it's a nice thing to do. And keep yourself liquid and safe. And thanks again for watching. I hope that was a worthwhile exercise to go through. If you have any questions on the material, please let me know. And I hope you have a very nice day. Thanks.